Be careful, you might get evicted. Hi, I'm David Lee from BASSBOSS, and this is the ZV28. Do you need a ZV28? If you want to swim in your bass, you need a ZV28. If you want to create a pool in which all of your friends and all of your customers can swim in bass, you need a ZV28. When would you not need a ZV28? Don't do this in your apartment. It will shake up a lot of things. It might shake up the neighborhood. Be careful, you might get evicted. Why does the ZV28 exist? I've been doing sound systems and loudspeaker design for quite a lot of years. And it's always dissatisfying when you know there are notes in music that you can't hear or can't reproduce, or you know that there's a possibility for things to go into those low frequencies, even if it's not really common. And so I kept hearing subs, and we would build a sub, and it was always just not quite there until the ZV28. The ZV28, I call it this chocolate pudding kind of bass. If you grew up and you had the opportunity to try cooked chocolate pudding, most people haven't, but there's instant chocolate pudding and there's cooked chocolate pudding. You cook it, mix in some heavy whipping cream, and then you've got the sense of what kind of bass this is. You're in an environment which is just this liquid jelly of bass. You can swim in it, and it just makes you smile. It just gives you the sense of, and nothing's missing. The ZV28 is pretty much the only subwoofer that I had ever heard that did that when it first came out. And I'm like, that's what I was looking for. If that's what you're looking for, the ZV28 is the box to do it. How low can it go? Specifications for the ZV28. Frequency response 23 Hertz and up to where the preset tells it, which is as high as 85 Hertz in the 8 accessible presets. The box is 42 inches deep, 42 inches tall, 22.5 inches wide plus the feet. It weighs 237 pounds. So it's heavy bass. What do you get from this box? You get very deep, thick, rich low end. There's very little out there that can do these low frequencies. This isn't a box that you get that does extremely loud bass. It's a box that does extremely low bass, and that energy isn't perceived the same way. When we hear those very low frequencies, our ears are actually not that sensitive to them, so we perceive them as a little bit less in terms of level. But when that energy is there, we perceive it as a bigger scale, so everything sounds bigger. And that's why this box has that extremely low end spec. To make that happen, it's got two 18-inch woofers with 4.5-inch voice coils and neodymium magnets, and it has two 2,500 watt amplifiers. It also has fully functioning pre-programmed DSP. You don't need any additional front-end gear to get this response, and you shouldn't use any additional filters with it. Everything's built in. And the distinction between this and the previous version of the Mark III is largely in electronics. Mark I had a full coverage front grille, and the Mark II had the enlarged ports and the opening to reduce the airflow noise. Mark III takes that improvement and then adds additional features in the electronics. So it's got a dual power supply, dual output stage amplifier. So we've got two discrete amplifiers, more power, more output voltage. It's got new processing, new DSP. So the DSP has higher sampling rate and just overall a better processing chip and more resolution and way more presets. So the original units had normal and cardioid. That was it. These units now have onboard 7 forward-facing presets, with the 7th one being your good neighbor mode and the 8th one being cardioid. And then it's got access through the ControlBASS software to effectively unlimited number of additional presets. In the software, you can access the additional onboard presets that have specialty filters and special applications for extended low bass use, potentially high SPL use, depending on what your need is. You can look in there and you can find things that are specific to particular applications that aren't just necessarily available on the push buttons. The push buttons are set up for the vast majority of applications, but there are some additional presets that are available in the Mark III through the ControlBASS that offer a little bit of opportunity for fine-tuning for application. That said, it also allows 100 presets to be stored on board, and that also means that we can increase the number of presets that we can put on there. So we continuously develop new presets, new configurations that may be better for a given purpose, that may be better for your particular purpose, that you can load and use through the software. And of course, you can also export your presets into a hard drive, into your computer, and then re-import them into another unit. This gives you the opportunity to try something in one location and then copy it to other boxes in other locations, or to make sure all the boxes that you have in a given location are matched. And if you find things that you want to do, you can import to multiple boxes to do an array program, things like that. There's nothing that you really need an outboard processor for once you have the Mark III. Everything you need to do, you can do in the unit, and you can then export that and import it to another unit. ControlBASS is accessed through an Ethernet port on the back of the unit, so you can link from one into another, and so you will need a Ethernet cable and some form of Ethernet connectivity, either a router or a direct port into a computer. Once that's up, you're able to communicate with the unit. So that gives you the opportunity to not only do updates, which you can do, static in a non-performance environment, but it also gives you the opportunity to do remote controls, or to have remote control over the unit. So it gives you the opportunity to change presets while in a listening position, rather than having to go to the unit and do it. As I said, it gives you access to multiple additional presets, gives you the ability to save and recall your own personally modified presets, and it gives you the ability to change level on the boxes where they sit from where you sit, and you don't have to go back and forth between them. There's other, there's parametric EQs that you have access to as well, and delay is available through the ControlBASS app. So these are the things that are in the Mark III that weren't available in the Mark II series and the Mark I series. And we will continue to develop those and continue to release new updates as we find ways to make those improvements. Another thing that people ask about is transport. So there are two styles of carts available for the ZV28. One is what we call a vertical cart, and the vertical cart will go on the small side, so it'll roll in this position with the woofers facing forward, or the cart will also go on the back of the cabinet, so the woofers will be facing upward when it's in transit. One cart per cabinet is how that works. Being that it's 22.5 inches wide, makes it truck pack friendly. It'll go into pretty much any box truck it's 4 across. Another option is to have the cart on the large side, which is a 43 by 43 cart. And so that limits the doors that you can go through, but you can stack 4 cabinets up on a cart or 3 cabinets up on a cart in a forward firing way, or you can put one forward, one back, one forward, so you can have a cardioid array on a cart, roll it in, lock the wheels, and be ready to plug it in and play. So those kind of things are good for large scale deployments. People ask us, why isn't there a grill in front of the port? It's because if there's something here blocking the airflow through the port, it creates turbulence and creates noise. So this whole structure here is designed to minimize the noise of the airflow so that you can get extended low frequency performance without chuffing and just artifacts coming from the flow of air through the grill. Handles are another thing. This box actually has 4 handles on each side, 2 for carrying it horizontally, 2 for carrying it vertically. And I've had people say, oh, that's going to weaken the side of the cabinet. Well, it would, except that it's also extensively braced in between and next to the handles, so there's not a risk of that. That is a very rigid structure that those handles are attached to. You also have grab points in the ports, and there's a recessed amplifier opening in the back that allows you to grab it at the back. It's a relatively easy cabinet to handle, even though it is quite large and relatively heavy. But with all the facilitations for making it easy to transport, it's quite surprising how easy it is to get it in and out of a venue, as long as you're not trying to carry it upstairs. it's pretty manageable. So hopefully that answers all the questions that you have about the ZV28. Of course, that's probably unlikely, so there's going to be more questions that come up and we're happy to answer them. Post them in the comments, get in contact with us directly through the website, and we will happily answer any questions you have. If you have a ZV28, enjoy it. If you don't have one, get one soon.